Windstar Cruises promises 180 degrees from ordinary. But is it really worth the luxury price tag? My husband and I just recently got back from a cruise on the Windstar Breeze in Tahiti. And that small ship charm was fantastic. But there were a couple of things that, well, could have been improved. So here is my honest review. What did Windstar nail? What missed the mark a little? And more importantly, would we ever book another Windstar cruise? Now, our stateroom, it surprised us. It really was pretty large for a cruise ship. The bed was comfortable. It had a very nice sitting area and a huge viewing window. And the bathroom was fantastic with his and her sinks and endless hot water in the shower and one of those wonderful rain-type shower heads. It was really heaven after a day's excursion. And there were a lot of little small touches, like these brand name toiletries in the shower, cozy robes and slippers provided, and even small room gifts that, well, make us feel pampered, made us feel special. And room service, well, it was available 24 hours a day at no extra charge. And I told Tony, our room steward, who was great, that we would like to have the mini fridge stocked with Pepsi, my husband's favorite, and Bud Light for me. And it was. Yes, we did have the beverage packet. Our room was cleaned in the morning and at night with a turn-down service, which a lot of cruise ships don't have anymore. And Tony, our room steward, was always at our beck and call. And yes, a small ship perk that I never thought of was, hey, we never really had to wait for the elevator. It was great. Oh, and one more thing. I will have a more comprehensive room video, but if you are thinking about booking a balcony room, well, you might want to reconsider. We talked to some people that did, and it's really more of what I think they call a French balcony. It's pretty narrow and it's more for standing on, not lounging. So really, you're never far from the actual ship deck if you want to lounge and see the sea. So is it worth to pay extra for the balcony? I guess that's only something you can decide. Now, one of Windstar's biggest strengths is its food, and my husband always kind of almost judges a cruise on its food, and he was very happy. He absolutely loved the grilled meats at the Star Grill, and both of us enjoyed the breakfast and lunch buffet in the veranda room, and you could order off a menu if you wanted, and they would happily bring you a cappuccino or even a mimosa for your breakfast if you wished. Now, while my husband loved the grilled meat at Star Grill, I'm more of a simple person and I don't like too much smoky flavor. So I really enjoyed the veranda buffet. There was always a lot to choose from. And for me, the simpler the food, the better. And one day at lunch, they really hit the spot with me. They had these warm rolls with shaved, delicious ham, and then they took a torch to a half of a cheese wheel, melted it, and then carved it out and put it on the sandwich. It was divine. And yeah, I went back for a second. Candles is their specialty steak restaurant, and my husband's filet was cooked to melt in your mouth perfection. Unfortunately, my New York strip was a little bit tough. It just wasn't that great. Now, both of us, however, loved the desserts there. My husband had a concoction of chocolate ganache and salted caramel ice cream. He loved it, and I had an excellent creme brulee. We also dined one evening in the Basil and Bamboo, which is an Asian fusion restaurant. And if you're a foodie, I think you would absolutely love it. But I'm not. Like I said, I like more simple fare. So I'd be more happy with amphora, which was the main dining room. But my husband did enjoy basil and bamboo. Oh, and can we talk about the drinks? Every drink we ordered was made perfectly and delivered promptly. Not like the experience we had on our last NCL Sun Cruise, which was very hit and miss. And the beach barbecue. And the Discovery event were highlights. They even had lobster there and Polynesian fire dancers. I mean, it was the works. It felt absolutely magical. And one of the things I look for when I schedule a cruise is its itineraries. And Windstar, well, they have some great itineraries. And we picked them because of that for Tahiti. It's a small ship, so it can dock where the mega ships can't. And that means more unique ports, less time tendering, and more small, intimate experiences. So if you're like me, and you're the kind of traveler who loves the journey just as much as the destination, I think you would be very happy with Windstar. Windstar's crew seemed to take pride in going the extra mile. They were always smiling, very willing to chat. And my husband, who had to have a hip replacement, so he was using a cane, the tip of his cane wore through. And so he went to guest services, and within a half hour, janitorial staff had what I call MacGyvered tip on it, and his cane was fine to use again. I mean, that is service, and I don't know if you'd get that on one of the mega ships. If you did, it certainly wouldn't be that quick. And we even had chats. You know, the general manager came up at the bar and we talked to him for a while. The captain goes around, talks to everybody. They eat with you. It is a very community-driven ship, I think. And we really enjoyed that. And if you're enjoying this video, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe for more travel content. Now, Windstar's entertainment is more low-key. You know, there's no Broadway shows, no comedy clubs, no casino. And you know what? Honestly, we didn't mind because we were in bed about every night from probably 9 to 9:30 because, well, there's that 6-hour time difference for us, and we'd get up every morning early because most of our excursions started at 8 a.m. So we missed out on most of the evening entertainment. But talking to others, they enjoyed the dancing with the live bands and the karaoke. But one night, we were fortunate enough to see some evening entertainment. It was the staff talent show. And let me tell you, it was fantastic. I mean, some of these singers could have been professionals. It was so great to see your waiter or waitress or your room steward up there on stage. I mean, you got to see a whole nother side of them. It was really enjoyable. So if you do take a Windstar cruise, don't miss the staff talent show. And the afternoon trivia competitions were always a hit. And again, there was these little special touches, like a waiter coming around, of course, asking you for drinks, but then also, would you like a little aperitif? And one day it was these fantastic, divine meatballs. Again, the special, a little more luxury feeling. And I really enjoyed the ship's library. You had a whole view outside of the sea and a great selection of library books. Or if you're more into doing puzzles, they had puzzles also. It was a great place to just relax. And I mentioned the crew was super friendly, but we didn't experience that cheers, you know, where everybody knows your name magic that I hear in some reviews. Our room steward, Tony, did always know our names, but that didn't happen elsewhere on the ship, although we weren't always eating at the same time, and we weren't regular bar patrons. Now, there was also small cultural classes. I went to one where you learned how to tie this piece of cloth, I think it was called pario, into all different things, be it a skirt, be it a sarong type thing. It was amazing how many different ways just one piece of material could be tied. I enjoyed that. And then I stayed and actually did a little crafting. I made the shell bracelet for my granddaughter. So that was fun too. You know, it was a casual way to connect with others while learning something about local traditions. Now, people wonder, what's the average age of people on the ship? Well, I did not go up and ask everybody their age, but the vibe on board is more calm, mature. You know, I did see some people, I think, in their 40s or younger. Most people, I would say, was in their 50s to maybe even in their 80s. Like I said, calm, mature vibe, no loud pool parties, and no kids running around. So if you're after peace and quiet, this is your crowd. If you want nightlife and big production shows and a shipboard casino, well, this isn't your ship. But personally, I loved that the passengers came in all ages, all shapes and sizes, and no one seemed to be trying to impress anyone, which is something I actually worried about because I thought, well, what do I wear? I'm more of like a jeans person, and casual was the norm. I never once felt out of my comfort zone. So if you're tired of, cruise fashion rules, well, this ship is also for you. And as for accessibility, which we never worried about until this time when my husband with his cane, well, our ship was not full ADA compliant. One thing you had to be careful of, especially in the middle of the night, is there was a step up to get into the actual bathroom in your room. So you don't want to trip. And for many of the doors where you went outside onto the deck, there was also that step up. And sometimes there were some steps. So something to be aware of if mobility is a concern of yours. But we lucked out, and our cabin was right near an elevator, which was great. Now, remember I said it's a smaller ship. I think it's only around 300 guests. So smaller means you're going to feel the ocean waves more. And we had 2 nights of what people said was choppy seas. I did not think they were that bad. Honestly, we found them very relaxing, kind of rocking to sleep, right? But if you're prone to motion sickness, bring your meds. Otherwise, well, you might not be happy. But in our case, we enjoyed that rhythm. Now, let's talk about value. What did it cost? Well, that's very hard to compare one cruise out of one cruise line to another cruise out of another cruise line, because some package in some gratuity, some you have to have the special package, some have excursions, some don't. I mean, there's a lot of differences. But since we used to always cruise on NCL, I would say it's anywhere from 25 to 40% more a night, depending on the deal that you could get. So, was it worth it? Well, I think what you're paying for is more space, more peace, and more personalization, something to make you feel special, and not to have crowds, no lines, no announcement every 10 minutes, and no fighting for a lounge seat next to the pool. As my husband put it when we were done with our cruise, he said, it will really be hard to cruise a traditional line again after experiencing this. And he's right. Once you've experienced a small ship where the crew knows your rhythm, the ports feel personal, and dinners end with ocean breezes instead of crowd noise, I think it is hard to go back. So Windstar, they don't have the flashiest shows or the biggest pools. In fact, the pool was very small, and I never saw anyone more than, I think, once 3 people in the pool. Who cared? When you could actually go right off the back of the ship, that's right, and you could I think they call it their water sports platform. And you could actually jump right into the ocean there, go on a water trampoline, or on a paddleboard. So I use the pool. But I think what it does have, which is rare these days, is the space to breathe, to connect, and simply to enjoy the journey. And for us, that was worth every penny we spent. So if you're chasing, the high energy nightlife or big onboard entertainment, Windstar may not be for you. But if you want a luxurious, relaxing experience where you can actually hear the ocean instead of loud music, well then, this Windstar Cruise, it may be for you. So yes, we do hope to cruise Windstar again. We feel it delivers what it promises, an upscale, small ship experience that's personal but not pretentious. You don't have to dress up for dinner. So I gotta ask, what do you think? Have you ever been on Windstar? Would you schedule a cruise on Windstar? Let me know in the comments below. And again, give me a thumbs up. It really helps for others to find honest cruise reviews. And always remember, adventure awaits.